Perceval Perlesvaus. Wolfram von Eschenbach, referring to the Templars, claims this his source Kjot's research had revealed a genealogical connection between the account of the Grail, and the sons of baptized men hold it and guard it with humble heart, and the best of mankind shall those knights be who have in such service part. 1. According to Wolfram, the Grail sustained the lives of a brotherhood of knights called Templisen, who are guardians of the Temple of the Grail. Like their real-life counterparts, who made their home in a palace near the site of Solomon's Temple, the Templisen were headquartered in a castle. This fictional castle was called Montsalvisk, or Mountain of Salvation, a name which recalls Montségur, the mountain fortress in Languedoc of the Polycian heretics known as the Cathars, who were massacred in 1244 as part of the Albigensian Crusade. 2. From southern France, the Kabbalah was transplanted in the first quarter of the 13th century to Aragon and Castile in Spain, where most of its subsequent development took place. 3. According to the earliest sources, Perceval, one of King Arthur's legendary Knights of the Round Table, the original hero in the quest for the Grail, was identified with Raymond Roger Trencavel, whose mother was said to have later married Alfonso II of Aragon, and brother-in-law of Raymond VI of Toulouse, all families who formed part of a series of dynastic unions associated with a form of Luciferianism known as Catharism, the House of Aragon, Toulouse, and the Plantagenets, who were at the core of the development of the legends of the Grail. 4. Rotro III of Perche, the famous count whose nickname was postulated by the Swiss scholar André de Mandac to have been Perceval after completing his service to Alfonso I the Battler, then allied himself politically with Count Geoffrey of Anjou to the west, and with Theobald of Blois to the east. He joined the other great lords of France in the king's entourage at Poitiers when Louis VII married Eleanor of Aquitaine in 1137. Rotro's son, Rotro IV, 1135 to 1191, married Matilda, the daughter of Theobald II, Count of Champagne, the brother of Henry of Blois, and nephew of Templar founder Hugh of Champagne. Matilda's siblings included Henry I of Champagne, Theobald V of Blois, Adela of Champagne who married Louis VII of France, and Marie of Champagne, married Odo II of Burgundy. Henry of Champagne and Theobald of Blois were married to two daughters of Eleanor of Aquitaine, Marie de France and Adelaide, respectively. Marie de France, fluid 1160 to 1215, was one of chief patrons of Grail author Chrétien de Troyes. Marie's husband was Henry I of Champagne, was a nephew of Henry of Blois, the possible author of the Perlesvaus. According to Michael O'Hagan, Joachim of Fiori's Three Ages of History exercised an important influence on the anonymous Perlesvaus, an old French Arthurian romance dated to the first decade of the 13th century. As O'Hagan has outlined, Perlesvaus is an apocalyptic romance, presenting the whole world locked in a fundamental struggle between good and evil powers. Its systematic incorporation of knights into two great forces doing battle respectively for the new law and for the old, and its use of sacred ritual to expand force beyond the bounds of time and space, leave no doubt of that. 5. Richard Barber agrees that the Perlesvaus was possibly inspired by the apocalyptic views of Joachim, who saw history as a progression from the age of the Father or the Law, paralleled by the old law of the Perlesvaus, to that of the Son or the Gospel, the new law of the Perlesvaus, and finally the age of the Spirit, to which end the Perlesvaus points the way. 6. The grandfather of Henry I of Champagne, and the father of his uncle Henry of Blois was Stephen II, Count of Blois, leader of the Prince's Crusade, who married Adela, the daughter of William the Conqueror. Stephen II's stepbrother was Hugh of Champagne, founder of the Templars, who was in contact with Rabbi Rashi of Troyes. Henry of Blois' brother was Stephen, King of England, who married Matilda, the daughter of Eustace III of Boulogne, brother of Godfrey of Bouillon and Baldwin I of Jerusalem. Matilda's mother was Mary, brother of David I of Scotland. A supporter of the Templars, Matilda and her husband King Stephen continued their close family association with the Abbey of Cluny. Henry I of Champagne carried a letter of recommendation from Bernard of Clairvaux addressed to Manuel I Comnenus, Byzantine emperor. He is listed among the notables present at the Council of Acre held by Baldwin III of Jerusalem at Acre in 1148. 7. Although he was the second son, Henry's brother Theobald V. 1130–1191, inherited Blois, while Henry I inherited the more important county of Champagne. Theobald V married Alix of France, daughter of Louis VII of France and his first wife, Eleanor of Aquitaine. Like his uncle Stephen of England, Theobald V also came to the defense of a blood libel case against the Jews. Implicated in the affair was Theobald V's mistress, Pulcelina of Blois, a Jewish woman, mistress and money-lender to the Count. Genealogy of Marie of France. William the Conqueror. Henry I of England plus Matilda of Scotland, Malcolm III plus Margaret of Wessex, D of Agatha of Bulgaria. Empress Matilda plus Geoffrey V, Count of Anjou. Henry II of England, close friend of Walter Map, author of the Skull of Sidon legend, plus Eleanor of Aquitaine. Henry the Young King. Richard Lionheart plus Berengaria of Navarre, D of Sancho VI of Navarre and Sancha of Castile, D. of Alfonso VII of Leon and Castile. Eleanor plus Alfonso VIII of Castile. Joan plus William II of Sicily, G.S. of Roger II of Sicily and Elvira of Castile, D. of Alfonso VI of Leon and Castile, and later Raymond VI, Count of Toulouse. John, King of England plus Isabella of Angoulême. Henry III. Adela of Normandy plus Stephen II, Count of Blois, step-brother of Hugh of Champagne, founder of the Templars in contact with Rashi. Theobald II of Champagne plus Matilda of Carinthia. Theobald V, Count of Blois, involved in blood libel through affair with Jewess Pulcelina of Blois, plus Alix of France, D of Louis VII and Eleanor of Aquitaine. Henry I of Champagne plus Marie of France, D of Louis VII and Eleanor of Aquitaine. Hosted Walter Map, and sponsored Grail author Chrétien de Troyes. Henry II, 1166–1197, plus Queen Isabella I of Jerusalem, G.D. of Baldwin II and Morphia of Armenia of Walter Map's Skull of Sidon legend. Marie of Champagne plus Baldwin I, Latin Emperor. Theobald III of Champagne plus Blanche of Navarre, Countess of Champagne. Adela of Champagne plus King Louis VII of France. Marie of Champagne plus Odo II of Burgundy. Stephen, King of England, suppressed blood libel case of William of Norwich, plus Matilda I, Countess of Boulogne, D of Eustace III, B of Godfrey of Bouillon Baldwin I of Jerusalem. Henry of Blois, Abbot of Glastonbury, Bishop of Winchester, author of Perlesvaus, and used Geoffrey of Monmouth as a nom de plume to write Historia Regum Britanniae, which was largely responsible for formulating the image of Arthur. The Grail story transferred to Marie of France's court, which sponsored Chrétien de Troyes, when his nephew Henry I of Champagne visited Glastonbury. Henry I and Marie's daughter, Marie of Champagne, c. 1174–1204, was the first Latin empress of Constantinople by marriage to Emperor Baldwin I, one of the most prominent leaders of the Fourth Crusade, which resulted in the sack of Constantinople in 1204, the conquest of large parts of the Byzantine Empire, and the foundation of the Latin Empire. Marie's brother Henry II of Champagne, 1166–1197, had been king of Jerusalem in the 1190s, by virtue of his marriage to Queen Isabella I of Jerusalem, the daughter of Amalric I of Jerusalem, the second son of Melisende and Fulk of Jerusalem, the eldest daughter of Baldwin II and Morphia. Amalric was the father of three future rulers of Jerusalem, Baldwin IV, and Isabella I, and Sibylla, who married Guy of Lusignan. In 1190 with his two uncles Philip II of France and Richard the Lionheart. There is a legend that Henry II, during his reign in Outremer, sought an alliance with the Assassins. 8. It has been said that it was through Henry of Blois, uncle of Marie's husband Henry I, Count of Champagne, that the Grail story found its way to her court, which sponsored Chrétien de Troyes, and the transfer of the legends may have taken place when Henry I of Champagne visited Glastonbury to see Henry, his uncle. 9. Walter Map, the original author of the Melusina legend, and the source of the Skull of Sidon legend, was a close friend of Marie's stepfather Henry II of England, and was sent on missions to Louis VII of France and to Pope Alexander III, probably attending the Third Lateran Council in 1179 and encountering a delegation of Waldensians, a movement related to Catharism. 10. On this journey, Map stayed with Marie and Henry I, who was then about to undertake his last journey to the east. 11.